and begin.
Action. Good evening. Thank you for participating in our monthly meeting of the Kitsap County Parks Advisory Board. This meeting is being held in both in person and remotely via Zoom. Before we begin, here are some guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Please silence your other communication devices, such as your cell phone or desk phone. This will ensure that we are not hearing any feedback or causing interruption during the meeting. Members of the public are attending on Zoom, except for board members and county staff, will be placed on mute by the host. The chair will announce opportunities for public comment, which are included in the meeting. Please adhere to the speaker time limit. For those on Zoom, if you would like to make a public comment, please click on the raise hand feature to signal that you would like to comment during the public comment period. You will be unmuted. Please announce your name before speaking. For those who are using the phone line only who wish to comment, dial *9 on your keypad to signal that you would like to comment. Please announce your name before speaking. Rules of decorum here. Please treat others with courtesy, civility, and respect. Rules prohibiting the use of signs or posters remain in effect for those participating by Zoom. Profanity, discriminatory comments, or obscene gestures are prohibited. Disorderly, unruly, or aggressive behavior that disrupts a good working order of the meeting is also prohibited. Any violation of the above rules for those attending virtually can result in your mic being muted, video feed shut off, or you being dropped from the meeting. Thank you very much. I would like to go ahead and call this meeting of the Parks Advisory Board to order. First order of business on our agenda is the adoption of the March 20th meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review these minutes? Do we have any offered changes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adopt these minutes? That's what I'll say.
Oh, I will move to adopt the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? We do have meetings. Now, backtracking just a little bit, I did miss the introduction section. So at this point, let's shall we introduce our staff personnel here with us first?
Alex Wisniewski, Parks Director.
Irene Weber, Natural Resource Supervisor.
Alex Hardy, Marketing and Event Supervisor.
Brian Hoschel, Parks Maintenance and Operations.
Thank you very much. Now, members of the board, can we?
Linda Berry Murray, North Kitsap. Amy Lawrence, Central Kitsap.
Dawn Doctor, South Kitsap. Lisa Hurt, North Kitsap.
And I'm Larry Walker from South Kitsap. Okay, now moving on.
Grady.
Oh, Grady.
Grady Martin, North Kitsap.
Sorry about that, Grady. I'm just bifocals. What can I say? Okay, moving on. We do have public comment. Does anybody wish to make a public comment?
Good evening. My name is Joe Bishop from Kitsap. I have two comments. I don't know if I'll get them both in at this first round. So there's been a lot of conversation about the bike race at Foot Gamble over the last few weeks, and it brings together several issues. One is bikes don't yield. That's the reality, even though it's posted. Bikes go fast. It's uncomfortable for a lot of users and creates unsafe situations at times. I've been run down a couple of times myself. I've heard stories about a couple of people getting hurt. So that's a reality. To a certain extent, that's, we've got a user conflict problem. We've known about it for a long time and it's yet to be addressed. And it calls into question a couple of important things. One is the multi-use concept. Park staff at various times have said all trails are multi-use. But obviously, you know, you can't have a fast riding biker and a walker on a trail, you know, on a 20-foot wide logging road. That's a different story, but we've got a lot of trails. Secondly, is the county's liability issue. You know, county law says that bikes are limited to 10 miles an hour. And I read the email today that said that wasn't interpreted correctly, but you know, you read the law, it's really clear that bikes, whether they're on a marked trail or unmarked trail, limited to 10 miles an hour. And it's not going to take much of a lawyer to sue the county based on the existing law. And Parks doesn't have the authority to disobey, you know, what is in the county code right now. So my basic point is you've got these different things coming together, and the situation is going to get worse with the increased mountain biking, with increased use of the right park. And, you know, the real disaster probably, you know, I'd like not to see happen, but it's, you know, going to be when a mountain bike or an e-bike rams into a horse and the rider gets thrown down the hill and seriously injured. And I don't think that the state law is going to protect the county from a lawsuit in that kind of situation. So I'd like to put that out for your continued consideration.
Thank you very much.
Was that Larry and saying something?
It is
Pretty much.
2:45.
Any other public comments? Well, hearing none, moving on along. Special presentation reports, PROS survey number 3 results. That would be you, Alex.
Sorry, I'm going to share my screen. I've got a slideshow to walk us through that very quickly pulls together some of the data that we learned based on the closing of the 3rd survey from yesterday at 5 p.m. So bear with me a moment till I get my screen. Right. Okay, so we were able to make some progress from the last month's meeting with regards to the PROS plan. We were able to get the 3rd survey posted and responses in for the last 2.5 weeks. And we closed it out yesterday at 5 p.m. So this was a blitz of a PowerPoint pulled together today to share some of the results with you. This is a very, and I got this in a different slide too. This is a very quick high level overview of the responses that we got. This is not an in-depth analysis that will come at a later point. But the results are really interesting and kind of fun to see. So I really wanted to take the opportunity to share with you tonight. Okay, so quick review of why we did a survey. This is a component of the PROS plan. Everybody knows Parks, Recreation, Open Space Functional Plan is basically a 6-year strategic plan that we are required by the state of Washington to do for a variety of reasons. It's a required component of the GMA, the Growth Management Act. It is required for us to remain eligible for grants through the Recreation and Conservation Office with the state of Washington. And I also like to always put up here that despite the requirements, it is just darn good practice to update plans on a very frequent, regular basis that are premised on contact with the community to ensure that the plans that we're putting in place, the progress that we're making is in line with and relevant to the community that we're serving. Components of the PROS plan. Ultimately end up with a plan that identifies goals and objectives over the course of the next 6 years. That would be premised on doing an inventory, a parks and recreation facility inventory and assessment, a public involvement component based on those demands and need analysis, capital, and then comes out with a capital improvement plan. And then ultimately the entire plan is that last bullet point, plan development and approval. Today, we're kind of looking at that second to last bullet there, the capital improvement plan, or at least some of the information that will ultimately lead into the development and update of our current CIP. So a few slides on the public involvement. Sorry for the small print here. Our public involvement has been started. It was started last summer in 2023. We started it with a this was our first survey. And as I mentioned, we just completed the third survey. So the first one was primarily based on starting to engage with the community to pose the question, how do you use your county parks today? What type of activities do you do in those parks? What type of barriers prevent you from accessing your parks and so forth? It's really a starting point to gauge use of and interest in our county park system. We did conducted stakeholder interviews over the course of 3 months, September, October, November in 23. These were one-on-one interviews with SCJ Alliance, who is our contracted consultant who is leading the effort to basically take all the information in and craft it into our 6-year PROS plan. The bullet points up there represent kind of the different categories of stakeholder groups that we met with and did the interviews with. We did public survey number 2. This was the visioning survey. This was also the one that included the maptionnaire and a very geographic based survey that allowed well, actually, I'll get to this in a little bit too. The surveys kind of built on each other, where the information coming out of the first survey led into the development of the type of questions that we asked in the second survey. And that will lead forward to what we just concluded in our third survey. We had open houses and presentations also in the latter part of 2023. We had 3 open houses, one in each region of the county. Those open houses were premised on doing in-person conversations with the community to gather the same type of information that we were also posting and gathering in public survey number 2. We had a bunch of presentations around the county to really try and get the word out and get people involved in the PROS plan process. Those included some tabling events also. We participated in the Kingston Open House and most recently up in Hansville in the Discover Greater Hansville Open House as well. We also conducted or pulled together a very short survey that we reached out to different youth organizations in the community to try and increase response rates from that segment of the community. We were not very successful in getting high levels of response rates, but boy, we reached out to everybody that we could possibly think of. We did another presentation in this past March also to the county's Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board and ended up getting a nice response from them. That will be another data point for evaluation of community input. And that leads us to the most recent piece of public information, which is the third survey. And this was the kind of crafted as the CIP projects and priorities survey. How this all comes together is kind of related in this chart here, where the first survey was basically asked those type of questions I just mentioned a bit ago, inquiring about how folks use our parks and what barriers they have to use of them, kind of activities they take place. We got some demographic information there. In the consultant's analysis of the information we got back, it led us into kind of crafting 4 themes that was helped lead into then the crafting of the second survey and the visioning questions and information that we were gathering. Those themes were safety and access, trail development and connectivity, recreation facilities and programs, and preservation and conservation. Those, as I mentioned, those helped define and develop the questions and the activities that were conducted as a part of the second survey. And then the results that we got out of that led to a little bit of refining of those themes, which then led into the questions and the way that we posed them in survey number 3, which was the shortest of the 3 surveys. It was only 9 questions, but was really targeting getting input. And because we knew that, the more surveys you put out, communities get survey fatigue. And so we didn't want to have anything super lengthy. We wanted it quick in return and something, information obviously that was valuable to us that we could use. And so that is in part what we're here to go over tonight. But the results will ultimately lead into the pros plan recommendations, as well as the what I've been calling the reboot to our department CIP plan. We update this every single year and it projects out 6 years. But the department's not done a full evaluation and update on this since at least not to the level that I would like to do since I started, in part because we've struggled to fill the 2 vacancies, our parks planner and the capital projects position, which unfortunately today are still vacant. But nonetheless, we do have the opportunity to lean on this process and the pros plan to help us move the reboot of our CIP along without having those positions in place. So a little bit more on survey number 3. We did a ton of work to try and get the word out into the community and let everybody know to please take the survey. We did this through Kitsap County's Gov delivery system. I think that there are 3 different listservs that we used. We used the entire, because I got it 3 times every single time it went out. There's, if you're subscribed, it goes out to an entire list of the county. Those who are subscribed for parks information, and there must be something else I'm subscribed to because I got it a 3rd time and I don't know specifically what that list was. We also emailed it directly to all the Parks Advisory Board members the moment that it went live. So you had an opportunity to access it right away. And posted on our website, and of course, our social media broadcasting. And the dates that are up there are the different dates that we pushed it out into the public to try and keep it at the forefront of everybody's feet and everybody's mind, so that they would keep reminding them to please take the survey. So what we're going to go through tonight, as I mentioned, this is a high level review. So I want to make sure that we're not reading too much into this. So this is just intended to say what this is and what this is not, what we're not going over. We're only taking a look at the multiple choice responses. In each of the questions, we also made sure that we had a write-in box so that people could put in comments to capture ideas and projects and concepts that we didn't capture in the multiple choice responses that were pre-drafted. There's a ton of those in there, and so those will take a minute for the consultant to go through and evaluate and categorize and figure out how we capture that and pull that into this information. So that part of it is not included in what we're going to see tonight. In barely 24-hour turnaround, just not enough time to do all that. And this will, as I mentioned, this will be a data point that we will use to help update our 6-year CIP. This is not inclusive of all responses, does not analyze the write-in comments. And ultimately, this does, the order that we're seeing tonight does not automatically dictate the pecking order of projects. Those will need to be evaluated with other comments coming in, other information that we know, as well as cost, as well as demand, as well as safety issues that may take something and rise it up higher than others, as well as syncing things up with grant cycles and other funding needs. So there will kind of be a full matrix of decisions to be made as to how these projects get moved forward and when. So into the results, we got a total of what's displayed up here, 1,479 responses. And actually, SCJ didn't fully close this out for about another half an hour after they sent me this printout. So I think we got like 10 more responses. We're at 1,480 something. So we're off a little bit, but nonetheless, it is super close to being the fully closed out version. This is representing the question. So please select the top 10 trails, trailheads, parking lots, and access projects you want to see across Kitsap County parks. And this is, as you'll see off to the left, I've identified this is a question relating to the full park system and all regions, because we do have some questions that are specific to North, South, and Central. And I'll point those out when we get there, but this one was in reflection of the entire county. This is a garbled mess. You can't really read what the responses are. So this next slide is meant to pull apart just the top 10 answers. There were way more projects on here than just 10. So there are, I don't know the number for number 1, but it probably goes over 20. And all of those are calculated out in the raw data. But again, for tonight, for our high level overview, I just went in and captured the top 10. So we had some information to take a look at. Again, pretty exciting stuff. So top 10 results that came out of it at a parking lot at Newberry Hill Heritage Park. Some of this is not a surprise. These are projects that have lived on the department's CIP list for a number of years. And we obviously want to make sure that we continue to capture information about those, and so wrap them into the questions as well. Adding parking and new access at Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park. Improving a connection at Hansville Greenway from the Buck Lake parking lot to the trailhead that leads into the Greenway. It's on here. Improving parking and access at Banner Forest Heritage Park. Improving some trails to be barrier-free and wheelchair-friendly at Newberry Hill. We also have that same comment at Port Gamble. We have a similar comment at Eglon, and you'll know that Eglon is not in our ownership yet, but it is nearly a done deal. And so we added questions in here about Eglon Forest to kind of give us a jump start on what the community was thinking about for that property. This one in particular just says develop a trail network and improve some of those trails to be barrier-free and wheelchair-friendly. We have improvements to the Bayview parking lot at Port Gamble, improves, and then the last two are also about wheelchair-friendly trails. Dee, can you take that off the screen?
Sorry, so sorry.
So last two is about the wheelchair-friendly trails at Illahee and Banner Forest. Moving on, the next one, and you'll notice on the left, this one is North Kitsap Park specific. And this was the top 10 recreation and park amenities, recreation facilities that you want to see within those parks in the north end. And we also have the next question is the central, and the last question is targeted at the south end parks. The reason why we divided these up was because the number of projects and comments that we received from the public that led into this list of projects was so vast that we just couldn't have it all inclusive. And so we needed a way to refine it and kind of whittle it down. And so we did it by region. Results. Develop a new park area at the north end of Port Campbell Forest Heritage Park. This is kind of adjacent or in conjunction with the north end parking lot that is not built at this point. But in the framework for the park, it called out a nature-based play area and some picnic areas. So this was asking that question again. Buck Lake Park, improved restrooms, North Kitsap, add picnic area. Port Campbell, add a picnic shelter to the mountain bike ride park. And then we had some in here where we got comments, but we don't necessarily have an identified location for some of these improvements that the community wants to see. And so we put these in here as location to be determined. So we don't know exactly where it might go, but just wanted to recognize that this was still important to the community because of the amount of interest it received, that we had to recognize it within the context here. And this is ADA accessible and inclusive playgrounds. And you will see this popped up in the north, central, and south. Moving on, Island Lake Park, adding a playground near the picnic shelter and the restrooms. If you're familiar with the park, it's kind of divided into two different areas. There's an area with the community building, and then there's picnic areas on the other side. But the playground is not with the picnic areas. So the park is kind of divided. It's functionally a little bit challenging. Norwegian Point Park, adding a fishing pier. For those who've been with the Parks Department for a while, will probably recognize this as a project that's been on the CIP for a number of years. Also at Norwegian, adding a picnic shelter. Again, location to be determined, adding pickleball courts. Pickleball was definitely a theme that we heard, and also throughout each of these regions it popped up. So what we're hearing is that we need to investigate different areas to meet this need, meet this demand from the community, but we don't know exactly where it's going to go yet. We'll have to find the appropriate place. And then the last one, location to be determined. This is adding athletic fields to the north end. Next is the same question for Central Kitsap Parks. We have Newberry Hill Heritage Park, adding restrooms there, as well as Illahee. Wildcat Lake Park, this is renovating the park. So we have a handful of lake parks that have beach frontage, swimming. They get high amounts of use during the summer months. They're day use only parks. All of our parks are day use only. But these are also parks that are aging. And so we wanted to ask a question about reinvesting in these parks to bring them, kind of modernize them. Replace old bathroom buildings and playgrounds and such. And so that's what this question is about. Wildcat Lake Park, we have a few items. Fairgrounds and Events Center rose up for adding a new open space lawn area for festivals and special events. We do have open lawn areas here at the fairgrounds, but they are small in size compared to some of the events that come to the fairgrounds and want to host events here. And so other events utilize the grass soccer field that is Gordon 2 that we talked about at last last month's meeting that we are pursuing a grant for to redevelop that one into a synthetic turf field. So were we to be successful in moving that project forward, that open lawn area would not be available for other special events. Chico Salmon Park, adding an outdoor classroom shelter to facilitate classes going out there, doing field trips and doing outdoor education opportunities. More fairgrounds and event center, improving the existing buildings. So our pavilion, our president's hall, the building that we're currently in, and our barns. These are older facilities that have not seen a lot of investment in them in a number of years, in some cases in decades. And so we are in a place to, ask the community, are you ready? Do you have a desire to reinvest in these facilities to give them a facelift for the sake of ongoing events? Again, location to be determined, ADA accessible and inclusive playground in the central area. We heard that in the north as well. Newberry Hill Heritage Park, adding picnic area. And then location to be determined, pickleball courts. And same question, moving on to the south end. And what we find, Banner Forest, adding restrooms is highly desired. And that is another theme across our heritage parks, is adding facilities for people who go there and visit. Long Lake Park, you'll see we have Long Lake on here, as well as Horseshoe Lake Park, two other lake parks that have that similar concept of doing a renovation of existing facilities. South Kitsap, improve the existing restroom building over on the playground side of the park. That is an older facility. Anderson Point Park, adding restrooms and benches. Howe Farm, adding a community garden component there. Coulter Creek, more restrooms to our heritage park system. And let's see, Howe Farm, renovating the building to accommodate special events and other uses. The building has not been, it has had some level of renovation, but it's not complete yet. And then location to be determined, accessible and inclusive playgrounds. Move it number 5. Now we're getting away from the regions and back to the full scope of the entire park system. This is inclusive of all regions. And these are the top 10 safety improvements. And a lot of the items on here were premised on comments that we received in the previous surveys, as well as at the public open houses. So repair the damage to the undercut head wall at Silverdale Waterfront Park. That is another one that's been on our CIP for a number of years in the Parks Department. Silverdale Wetlands, we have another ongoing theme here, kind of a general comment about improving safety measures to reduce crime. We see this across some of our other parks where we are, and parks and properties that we own, where we are prone to homeless use of those parks. And so some of these comments are, I think, in response to some of that activity. Point No Point, adding a handrail to the stairs on the bluff. Anderson Point, improving the trail to the beach for walkability and sustainability. This was premised on the fact that it is a steep slope, and when we have heavy rains, the soils loosen up and we have slides there. So figuring out a way that, to make that area more sustainable. For Gamble, improving, and this is another general comment we find at a variety of the parks up on the screen, just improving safety measures to reduce crime. Found that at Port Gamble, at Illahee, at Silverdale, Gateway Park, South Kitsap, Horseshoe Lake. So you might ask yourself, well, what the heck does that mean? It is very broad statement and comment. It was an attempt to kind of pull together, very specific comments that we received from the community. into a way to kind of categorize it, and exactly what this looks like will probably be different location by location. And we're looking into it. One of the ways that we're already moving forward with this is working with our risk management department and the sheriff's department on potentially putting in kind of trailer-based cameras, security cameras at some of our high-use park locations where we have a lot of unwanted activity. This was a request that came to the Parks Department by the Sheriff's Office for some certain locations. So we're working through that. And that would be an example of a way that we would address or start to address some of these kind of broad-based concerns. As an example, one of those is the parking lots across the street here at Gordon Fields, where we often in the summer, now that it's getting warm, we have drag racing that happens there. And we have had people get hit by cars, and we don't have a good way to manage it. And so that would be a prime location to install cameras to help hopefully be a preventative measure, as well as catching some sort of illegal activity that we don't want to happen there.
What is Silverdale Wetlands?
Silverdale Wetlands is downtown Silverdale. It is next to Lowe's. There's an area next to there that is a wetlands complex to across the street from the area where Clear Creek Trail is.
Is that where used to call Markwick?
No,
Oh.
close to there, kind of close to there, but
Okay.
a little further away. The county owns, and it's not just us, Public Works does too, owns a variety of properties kind of speckled throughout downtown Silverdale. Some of them, the Clear Creek Trail goes through, some of them it doesn't, and they're owned for like stormwater facility. Yeah. Okay, question number 6, 6 and 7, both based on conservation and resiliency. This is premised on projects that are conservation and resiliency focused. And this one, we had fewer projects to put up here. And so because of that, we reduced the select your top 10 to just select your top 4. We actually only had 8 projects to put up. And so selecting 10 just didn't make a whole lot of sense. So the top 4 you'll see up here. We have construct a bridge over the Springs, over a creek on the Springs Trail at Port Gamble. Across all parks, decommission or remove trails that cross wetlands and other critical areas. Replace a bridge over a creek near the beach at Indianola Woodlands. This provides access from the uplands down to the beach area. At Eglon, develop a natural resource management plan for the new park. Coulter Creek, create wetland and pond management plan, including the hydro analysis, beaver habitat and restoration impacts analysis. Guillemot Cove, we have a boardwalk that crosses through an estuary. The bridge and boardwalk are not large enough to completely span the estuary, and so there's some impact there. This is to remove that. At Howe, removing an old boardwalk that is currently underwater in a flooded stream corridor, and also at Guillemot, removing an old defunct cabin and a head wall on the south side of the estuary. Similar question focused on conservation and resiliency. This one not focused on projects specifically, but focused on system-wide priorities for the department as to how we will reshape and focus our management practices. The very first one on here, acquire new land for natural resource protection and conservation. This one will hopefully come with some staffing and maintenance and all the stuff that goes with it to maintain these properties, but speaks very loudly to the desires of the community to recognize that in our growing community, there is a higher desire to acquire undeveloped land today to preserve and protect it from future development. To develop a vegetation management plan, including invasive species management, define priority projects and implement. Prioritize protection of waterways and wetlands within park properties. Develop wildlife conservation plans focused on wildlife, define priorities and implement. Prioritize protection of rare and endangered species and within the park properties. Develop a forest management plan, define priority projects and implement. Develop a plan for education and interpretation programming, including signage and viewing areas. And the last one, develop protocols to evaluate new proposed trails for critical area ordinance compliance. Guys, we're failing me on that. I was reading it there when it's this close.
I got two more speeds if you want.
Good. Okay, so then the last two questions, number 8 and number 9, were not really focused on specific projects or areas within our park system. These were slightly different focus to dig in a little bit deeper to what the community is feeling, where their desires are to know that. And so this number 8 is this fun question that I actually used in City of Port Townsend when I was doing the pros plan there. That is so when you're answering these questions, it's very easy to go through and just say, yes, do everything. All this stuff is fantastic. I want these projects. I want, buy new land and protect it, et cetera. But the reality comes into play when we have limited funding, we have limited staffing, we have limited resources. And so then when you're working within the confines of these parameters, where then do your priorities take you? And so that is what this question is intended to start to get at. And this is this fun question says you've got basically $100 in park bucks, and you get to spend those on this menu of different park items that have different dollar values that is, somewhat intended to be the cost of those things in relation to each other, obviously not in reality. And then knowing that you have a finite amount of money, what are your priorities? Where would you spend your money? And of course, up here, we've got, trails, restrooms, playgrounds, picnic shelters, sport courts, disc golf course. We've got acres of open space to purchase and manage as undeveloped open space, creating park access locations, developing athletic fields, and then recreation buildings, indoor facilities, whether that's a gymnasium or like a pavilion, a special event facility. Based on results, and the results I have here are not fantastic. I don't have the distribution of dollars, but I do have just off to the right-hand column there are the number of votes each of one of these received. So my data is incomplete on this, I apologize, but at least I have something to share here. And trails got the most number of responses, followed by restrooms, followed by purchasing and acquiring open space, which goes along with the comments in the previous question. Playgrounds and park access, so those parking lots and trailhead locations, followed by picnic shelters, athletic fields for sports, and then our sport courts like pickleball, basketball, and then you get to indoor facilities, recreation building, And the last one on here that got the least amount of votes was disc golf course. And the very last question didn't have anything to do with specific projects. It was more focused on funding. And this was another one to kind of ask the community, indicating that, hey, we don't have all the money in the world for this stuff. But there are other opportunities or funding mechanisms and tools that we could take a look at to help us achieve the comments that you're sharing with us. And where is your interest in these items? And so on here, kind of in order, applying for grants to leverage public dollars for park projects got the most votes. Partner with other public agencies and private businesses to operate recreation programs and manage facilities to reduce burden on the Parks Department. Basically, a private-public partnership type mechanism to provide opportunities to meet the community demand, but it doesn't solely have to rest on the department to do that. Number 3 is create facilities that generate revenue. So we're finding ways to bring in revenue to the department so that we can then afford to provide these services and facilities to the community. Number 4 is exploring new funding opportunities, alternative funding mechanisms like metropolitan parks districts to increase operational budget capacity, again, to achieve what we're hearing from the community. With this one, we did have a link to take folks to a webpage that defined what Metropolitan Parks District was for those who didn't quite know. Metro Park districts are a highly used funding mechanism in the state of Washington. So they're pretty prevalent, but we still wanted to provide that information anyway. Number 5 was use general obligation bonds, basically taking out a loan to fund and pay for the capital projects. Number 6 was all the above, explore everything, use all your tools available when available and appropriate. And then the last 2 were interesting. There are other ways to help balance what we're doing. Number 7 was divest of park properties, basically saying, we only have so much operational capacity. If there's an unwillingness to add different ways to increase our operational capacity, then the way to bring things into balance is to eliminate the amount of responsibility that we have. Reduce parks, reduce properties, reduce facilities, and so forth. And that's what number 7 was intended to get at. And then number 8 was, none of the above, don't do any of this, only operate within your existing budget. And those 2 got significantly lower votes than any of the other ones, which I find a little bit exciting, that at least there seems to be some level of an appetite to look for new ways to reach what we're hearing from the community, and it's not a flat out no for new opportunities. At least that's how I read that one. That concludes the 9 questions of the survey that we had for the CIP projects and priorities survey. As I mentioned, this was a very high level overview that we just went through. There's still a lot to digest in there. There's a lot more projects that are listed that are not solely in the top 10. The top 10, again, is not a pecking order for how the CIP is going to be programmed out. And it also doesn't capture all the comments. There's a lot of writing comments that need to be analyzed and incorporated into the ultimate results. So there's still more to come on that. But again, I wanted to kind of provide back what we heard from the community, because it's pretty fun. Last item up here, I wanted to share with you kind of the next steps for completing the pros plan. What you'll notice up here are no dates, and that is, I still have nothing more to offer than the comments I shared at last month. I don't have dates because I don't have a plan yet, so I'm reluctant to put us down into dates until I have something to work with. So we are on our consultants. They're doing a lot of work, but we're likely looking that this review process, what we have up here is likely a 3-month review process before we go from when we start with staff has received a draft plan to it goes to RCO after the board has approved it for RCO's approval. It'll be a 3-month process if we're able to stay on track. One item on, so the kind of pecking order that we've put together is there's a staff review. It will come to the Parks Advisory Board for your review and comments. It will go out to the public for a 2-week public comment period. It will then likely go through a review process, or not review, but an update process with SCJ. Then it will come back to us and we will take it forward to the required DCD processes, a SEPA determination. It will be reviewed by DCD for compliance with the comp plan. Within that SEPA determination, there's another 2-week public comment period. And it goes through the DCD review before it goes to the Planning Commission. We'll go to the Planning Commission for 3 different meetings. One will be a briefing, there'll be a work study session, and then there will be a 3rd one that is what they deem a finding of fact and approval. Following Planning Commission, it will then go to the County Commissioners, where it will go through a public hearing process, where there will be another 2-week public comment period. So in total, we've got 6 weeks worth of opportunities to have this in various stages of draft form for the public to review and comment on, and for us to update and tweak along the way before the gets to the commissioners for hopefully a good public hearing review and approval, and then once the commissioners approve it, it then goes to RCO.
Alex, is that, is the goal the end of this year?
The goal is sooner. The goal, we've passed the goal at this point. I am hopeful at this point that we get it approved by the end of August.
Question. What did you say was going on with the consultants last week? Last month? You said something was holding them up, or?
They have expressed that they've had some internal challenges within their organization, loss of staff and turnover and such. So that's all. I think that's all.
They have a contract, like.
Oh yeah, we have a contract.
So. Yeah, a time contract.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we just had to do an extension to it. So.
Do they get held liable for the loss of funding that we're probably getting because of that?
No, we're still bound to the same dollar amount that we agreed to it. So the contract dollar amount still stands.
But for them, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
For them not coming through in a timeline they're supposed to come, shouldn't they be paying? Like.
No, we don't have anything like that crafted into
Oh.
our contracts.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, maybe on like larger construction projects, there's stuff like that, but for a small service contract like this, we don't have any stuff like, we don't have anything like that.
Mhm.
So that was it. I don't know if there are questions or comments. There's no decision making here. I really just wanted an opportunity to kind of share information about what we're hearing, and the 3 surveys. This entire process is built on itself to get us to where we're at today, and now at this point it is moving into the plan phase. So when we have that available, it will we'll we'll move it forward for the various stages of review.
For the capital improvement plans, as you said, this isn't a priority, this isn't prioritizing which capital improvements. Will those find, weaning down the capital improvements to a more real level of what's possible, since someone just build it up, so, oh, that sounds good, that sounds good, let's do it all. Will that happen then also in the same time frame? Is that staff, right?
It will, yes, there will be a lot of staff involvement because we know more about the details of the various projects than the consultants. But actually, we just had a meeting with the consultant this afternoon, our weekly catch up with them. And we talked about the next phase for the CIP, that they're going to work on that matrix that I talked about for the evaluation. They're going to take an initial stab at doing the review, and then it will come to staff for us to take a look at it and say, okay, what is actually, what could we actually accomplish here? And then that will help feed into our capital improvement plan that we update and get approved by the Board of County Commissioners every year.
And that's a separate year.
That's separate from this, yeah. So basically what comes out in the PROS plan will be in large part a guide that we will use to develop the 6-year CIP, which will be our quote unquote reboot of the program. But that one, normally we get to goes to the Board of County Commissioners in November. And that's when they do a public hearing for all the capital facility plans for all the different departments all at once. November. Great. Thank you, Larry.
Absolutely. Alex, anything for you? Would you like to take a break, get a drink of water before we put you right back under the gun?
No, I'm good. And actually, with regards to the director's report, I was gonna wasn't gonna, just maybe there's one item I will draw some attention to, and that is the very first one under an admin program, and wanted to recognize this because of the proposal that Lisa brought to us last time about having an opportunity to recognize and respond to questions and comments that we get and coming into the department that, we respond to those. We have a difficult time in this environment to do that because it's not meant to be an open conversation or back and forth. But it also feels very unfinished that we get questions and then they just kind of go nowhere. And so what we are trying to do is for, folks who come to this meeting, or even if they don't, if they've got questions, to please send that into the Parks Department. We will respond directly to the individual. And then on a bi-weekly basis at our management team meeting, the public comments and questions that come in, we will evaluate across our management team, and we will put together answers for those and post them on our website. We already have an FAQ webpage on our website, and we talked today about, or actually it was Tuesday, about how to format that webpage to add in a new section in there to basically capture new questions, incoming stuff. Because a lot of the stuff that's on there right now is very static. Yeah. So it's like, okay, let's make this a little bit more dynamic. How can we add in stuff that comes in on a regular basis and keep track of it? So we still need to manipulate the website and work through that, but we're starting to figure it out. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
I feel like it's maybe a little more than just questions. Sometimes it's like comments about things. So is that what you're thinking? Like, I mean, this could get detailed. I don't know. I mean, because not everything is a question. Some people are like, I think this, like, trails between bikes and horses don't mix. So I guess I'm just wondering if you envision like separate sections, like this is what we're getting asked and these are our answers. And these are just topics where like we're aware are issues and we're working on, or something like that?
Yeah, the intent was really more on FAQs,
Okay.
or kind of subject matters that, you know, was getting a lot of attention that we, you know, need to respond to, provide some information out there. So it's not solely an either or, and it's
Yeah.
also not it's gonna be everything.
Right.
You know, not everything really rises to the level of needing to push it out to the public too. So,
Yes, and that could be someone's full-time job.
yeah.
Yeah. And also the question about, you wrote donate to the Parks Department, is that, I'm guessing, through the foundation? Like you put, it says details, blah, blah, blah. Includes point, no point parking and access special event process donating to the Parks Department.
It depends. So we do get questions. People do donate cash dollars to the Parks Department, and sometimes those get earmarked for certain parks or certain projects. And we do route those through the Parks Foundation. Sometimes we get random questions of, hey, I've got 50 trees that I just want to give you. And it's like, okay, how do we do this? Because we have a process. We can't just accept, you know, everything.
Right.
People want to, you know, donate us benches that they bought at Walmart, and those are the type of things that we can't always do. So,
Yeah, I just do think more visibility for the foundation, that it exists, is,
yeah.
should be a priority. Because I get the question a lot too, like, how can we donate to the park? It's like, well, I don't really know.
Yeah, and the Parks Foundation is, right now, is the mechanism that we're using to capture that. It gives us the ability to have those funds earmarked for certain parks, certain projects. And it does not go back into, obviously, the county's general fund. So it can sit there year after year. So when we're ready to do a project, it's available.
Great, thanks.
Other than that, I will leave the director's briefing in writing unless there are questions or comments related to any of the items.
I had one question about point, no point. If people are parking down in the DNR parking, have they been walking on the road?
Yes. Yes, we updated, so part of we have an agreement with WDFW for use of the parking lot. We are providing some maintenance activity to maintain the parking lot because ours is closed and we know the majority of the users are going to the park. Within the parking lot area, we had signs printed and they show the direction to get to the park. It's along the roadside, and to please be mindful of the private beach that is in front of those houses. All right, thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Alex. Appreciate you keeping that one brief.
That was a lot of information.
That was a lot of information, especially being able to compile it in 24 hours. I can't even come up with a good excuse in 24 hours, so. Okay, next item we have is subcommittee reports. Advisory board subcommittee assignments. Is everybody still good with what? Yes, well, please. I was kind of curious on why that was there.
I am very sorry. That was a carryover from the last month's agenda. It was a mistake. It should be off.
So you're just trying to make the chair look like an idiot. That's my job.
Yeah, no, that is, yeah, my mistake.
Okay, we will scratch that one off the agenda now. Okay, district representative. Yes.
Sorry, I was just curious, for the committees, like, when do we actually, like, for rules, like, you know, let's say shared use paths and things like that, like, when do we start creating those rules or discussing that? I mean, because it's obviously, needing to be done.
So those committees are set up on an ad hoc basis. So when the Parks Department needs to call one of those committees together to review a policy or procedure or something, then we will do so. But it is basically comes together when staff is ready for it.
So like that 1971 law about the, you know, it's about the riding, bikes not existing, whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know, to get that in the works, how do we start? We have to wait. I mean,
Find me a parks plan.
Parks planner, is that what you're waiting for? No, I'm just curious.
No,
We
it's a
do
good
that.
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, in part, our parks planner would. So yes, our parks code, and not just any one item in there, but the entire parks code was last updated in 1971. So it is way old. It
Yeah.
is way old, way outdated, and needs attention and has needed attention for decades now. So I am not taking fault for where we're at, but fully recognize that it needs some help. And because typically that type of thing would be carried forward by the parks plan. But because we have that position vacant, our representative in the prosecuting attorney's office said that they were going to take up the mantle on that. and
Oh,
move
good.
forward.
Okay.
Well, we have had one retirement earlier this year, and we have another one coming up, and our representative is leaving, so that is probably going to stagnate for a little bit longer.
Thank you for that. By the way, I would like to announce and welcome a board member who's been missing in action for a little bit. Good evening, John.
Hi there, little late. I had 6-hour chemo session today and didn't get home till 5:30 and about forgot about it. And then Larry yelled at me, so I figured I better get here for a few minutes anyway. So this is what I look like after 6 hours in the oncology lab.
Well,
Plus
good
my
wish,
pump.
wishes towards you. We're gonna have to get together for lunch sometime, but that's not for official record because I don't want Alex to know we're
Right.
going.
Anyway, I'm here.
Welcome aboard. You're looking good, John. Okay, district representative reports.
The Port Gamble stewards met on the 3rd of April. Talked about several upcoming events. BioBliss, I think is 27. Stoudemire updated us on the trailhead. Work with Stoudemire. I know there's dirt and water sometimes don't combine well for deadlines. So that's moving forward, but it did have some delays. Updates on volunteer training. There's a trail work party with the River Pond extension. There were some questions on what the county could cover and reimburse for, and essentially that's a trail that is a loop, and part of it's on private property and part of it's on county property. Obviously, counties can't spend any money for projects that aren't on county property, and also reimbursement is an issue if it's not. So that was but there's an event this weekend, the Gamble Traveler. There's some work getting ready to move forward on signs, and there's a lot of different projects discussed and planned for. One of the questions that did come up, and I wanted to just bring it up, and because we've asked about events, because we had questions about events, and so there's some questions about how was the outreach handled for the fundraising. And I brought up in a couple of brochures. One is really antique 2013 and 2015. You'll notice they almost look the same, except the first one, 2013, we didn't own any land, so it was all just the green, but over about 100,000 of these got passed out. The second one, you can see, we've had that the shoreline block was acquired, but these were the primary tools along with the websites of Portera and GPC. But it does have the bullets of what was planned. It was designed for attention. If we don't save this land, we'll lose the 7,000 acres. We'll lose 60 miles of trails. We'll lose plans for the Sound to Olympic Trail. Talked about the shoreline protection, and also did talk about Four Seasons Eco Recreation. So I brought this, I copied a couple black and whites for you to take, but I wanted to just pass them around since people had asked about them, and I know there have been questions. So these are just the old brochures and I thought I'd share the stewards meeting too. We also met in person, which we hadn't done in a long time, and that was nice. You know, it was, I think it was, we had a lot of different people there that hadn't been there before, so it was nice to kind of have a human connection. But I know there is this is the location that is covered by, you know, park staff costs, but Kingston is much more convenient for a lot of people. So I think we're talking about maybe meeting quarterly in person, but we haven't figured out the details of that. And that's all I've done.
Right, thank you very much. Anybody else got anything to report? John, do you have?
Like I say that I took my students out to Chico today, lovely day, and they really didn't need the shelter, but I was really happy to see that on the list for other days that we didn't.
Very nice. Don, nothing? Nothing? Lisa?
Yeah, I had a question, of course. So, I was curious about the gate keys and who's kind of keeping an eye on those, because, I had one of my people call me the other day and he noticed a car got stuck down in that same area. And I had him call you, because I said, call Irene, you know, and ended up calling the sheriff too, because some guy just drove into the park and went for a joyride and ended up all the way down by Millie's Trail and got his car stuck and ended up spending the night. My friend found him slumped over the wheel, you know, they just trashed the area. I had pictures, you know, cutting everything down to try to get their car unstuck, and they threw yellow split peas and down in Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park. Yeah, split peas and peanuts under the wheels to try to, you know, and spur and cedar boughs, and it's just a muddy mess. So anyway, I knew that was already muddy from the last truck that went down there, but yeah, so is there a plan to?
Yeah, so we've been in touch with the sheriff's department about that. They actually responded to the site, and we're working on that with the sheriff's department. I've also been in touch. These people access by driving around a locked gate at Bond Road is what appears to be the situation. So that is not a gate that's on park property. So I've been in touch with the people at Braden to manage that gate about what we can do to better secure that area.
That's the gate they came through. It looked like I tracked and it looked like they came through
That's what was reported to the sheriff's department.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Oh, okay, that's, you know, compared to all that stuff, kids has been actually fairly quiet and everything. Stewardship is continuing on in Banner Forest. Basically, they're working on English ivy removing and brushing back trails, right, Irene? You know, I'm tapering off on some of my mountaineering duties, so you may actually see me visit a work party again. The other item of note in South Kitsap and everything, if you didn't get a chance to read it in the email we got with our board packet and everything, is that the issue that Rick Feeney brought to us last month about the possibilities of lowering the speed limit. His entire briefing has been forwarded over to Public Works. And Rick has also been put in touch with the appropriate people at the Public Works area. So, because that's actually their main, so Rick has been placed in touch with them, so we will stay tuned for further bulletins. So, does anybody have any new business? Oh, do I see a hand? Grady, do you have anything?
Nobody has their hands up.
No business here.
No business there. Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any new business? Going once? Going twice? We have no new business. Public comments.
You're not gonna let Joe warm the crowd up for you?
No, we have a hand.
My name is Carol. I have a trouble hearing you guys, even sitting back here. This one? Yes. I have trouble hearing you guys by Zoom, and I have trouble hearing you sitting right there. I couldn't read the screen. We got up and walked up to see it. I know it's just preliminary, but it's, anyway, moving on. My main question is about heritage parks, about what they are. What's the definition of heritage parks? Will Eglon become a heritage park? Is Port Gamble Forest a heritage park? Or is it a special interest park devoted to mountain bikers? I say that as a person who's there often. And it's really unpleasant to walk there. Where's the consideration for wildlife and habitat in your plans regarding heritage parks? I am protesting, along with Joe and others, essentially the closing down of Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park this Saturday for those of us who are not mountain bikers. I won't, if I go there, it'll be to observe them, not to enjoy the park. So we have to ask, who do these parks belong to if they don't belong to the community? Do they belong to a group of mountain bikers? And a lot of these mountain bikers are not from around here. They come from all over. Moving on, I would like the board to please consider that there are other safety issues not involving illegal activity. And I think the traffic is a perfect example. Another issue that's going to be coming up is Highway 104 and the Bayview parking lot. There's parking lot on either side of the highway that is dangerous if you are crossing the highway. Once again, that probably should have a reduced speed. Maybe not right away, but we need to look at that in the future. The other thing I would request, and this is a personal matter, but there are bridges and there are bridges. I wish you would consider aesthetics when and if you build a bridge over the stream in the Springs area, please. I'm thinking of the bridge at North Kitsap Heritage Park by the main parking lot, which is lovely, versus the bridge that was recently put in the north up by Norman Road. That's, well, it's not aesthetically pleasing, let's just say. And finally, my last point, when I come to the parks meetings, I always ask myself, how can I, as a public person, just a resident of Kitsap County, how can I be included in your conversations other than these 2 minutes or 3 minutes that I get to have at the end of the meeting? I want to be involved. I am peripherally involved. I care deeply about Eglon, what's going to happen there. I do not want it to be developed. But I feel like I only get to react. I never get to be involved. Thanks. You're up, Joe.
Yeah, my name is Joe Lucia. I think Alex was highlighting in the survey, conservation and restoration requirements, was that development?
Conservation and resiliency, I think was the.
Okay. So in that light, I wanted to make a pitch for more money going to Green for ecological assessments. Because every development in the park, be it a physical development or an environmental project, they all need ecological assessments. And in particular, Coulter Creek, Bagwan, and Fort Gamble are lacking in that department. Okay, before you can make any rational decisions, you need to do wetland delineations. And we're in the prime of the season for doing that right now. So we're going to miss that this year again. You need to map out all your wetland buffers and all your stream riparian areas. You need to identify your wildlife habitats, wildlife corridors, take a look at fragmentation, do the animal safe disturbance distances along all the trails and roads. That's the basic information you need to start with before you can move on to any of these other items. So this will be still adding. My second comment is specifically to the board. And in March, this agenda showed up with this comment about public comment. It's not a Q&A. I think that was ever asked for anyway. And we should send emails to the dead letter box. My reaction to that was I found it discouraging towards public comments. The county policy is for inclusive government to involve citizens, to build public trust and to promote understanding. And I think I would ask you as board members, you're in a position to amplify our public comments and press the points with Parks Department. And I would ask you to do that because I think it needs to be done. Granted, this is not a dialogue session, but you can create a dialogue in your meeting, and I would ask you to do that. And I would urge you, I think it's appropriate that you take the public comments and make that happen around the table. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Wait,
Do we have it? Do we?
John.
Okay, John, I see your hand up. Before we go to John, do we have any other public comments involved?
we do. We have Marion Allen online and I'm allowing her to talk. Marion, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for allowing me to talk. I just want to say, I know you guys are all well, not all of you, but most of you are all volunteers too. And I do appreciate that. It takes lots of time, but, and I'm also really happy. I kind of came in late today, but I'm really happy to hear that in the pros plan, they are hearing that people prioritize protection of wetlands and open spaces in this county. And I had no doubt that they didn't feel that way, but I'm glad to see that you're hearing it. I also agree that we definitely need to find more funds for our county park. And we need, we understand you need more personnel to do your jobs. And that has to be a priority with our county. A second thing involving what Joe was talking about wetlands, I was out with our native plant group today out at the Hansfield Greenway, and Howie, I think you guys probably know Howie, one of the lead volunteers out there, walked around with us, and he said, oh, and we were standing in this great big open area, and he said, oh, and the county just came out and told us that this is a wetland and we can no longer, and I said, wow, Howie, we've been asking the county for a long time to come out to Fort Gamble and do that, but they won't. I said, how did that happen? And anyway, so it is possible, I guess. The third thing that I kind of want to discuss is the bike race. And starting with, you know, I know Alex has heard how I feel about it, but regarding the 10 miles an hour speed, it doesn't matter to me that it came from 1971. It doesn't matter to the lawyers. That is, you know, that is in place right now. And the thing is, if we are going to continue to allow machines in our park that can travel at fast speeds, we have to retain that speed limit. Those machines can cause lots of damage to people that they run over. And so that's the first thing. And the other thing is, there's no personnel going out to this event and checking on this event. Like the last time when they had their shuttle buses in there that weren't approved, you know, no park personnel had time to go out there and see that the event was correctly issued. And so that's another reason for not having these dangerous events like 300 bikes racing in the park. The other thing, of course, is the cost, and that Parks is receiving $25 for this, and the people putting on the race are making $20,000 or something of the sort, and that is so wrong. And you know, we've brought this point up numerous times. I was asked by a horse rider, she said, "Does that mean that we can have horse races in our park?" She said, "Oh, just imagine 300 horses racing through the park. Wouldn't that be fun?" And I said, "Well, I guess for $25 you can." Anyway, so I kind of feel like maybe, even though I was told there is a process for these events and deciding if these events should be allowed, maybe there needs to be a much more detailed process that maybe involves the park advisory board. I don't know, but I don't think that this is very good judgment to let this type of activity be allowed in our public parks. I'm sorry, that's all I have to say. And please come to the Bio Blitz. That's all.
Thank you very much. Okay, who wants to go first, John or Dawn? Dawn, just deferred to you, John. What you got for us?
You're muted.
Okay, there we go. I was wondering, in regards to, this would be for Brian, in regards to the first lady that made the comment about the bridge, what is the difference between the old bridge and the new bridge? And who put up the new bridge that they're talking about?
Yeah, so I can speak to that, and I think Irene's probably got a better answer than I do. When it comes to that, that's more of a natural resource end of things. So I'll kind of kick that over towards Irene.
Sure. When we're doing bridge design, a lot of this has to do with requirements for the HPA permit that we get through WDFW. So the bridge has to meet certain engineering standards, and that depends on the type of stream that's crossing, whether it's fish bearing, whether it's not fish bearing. So there's certain requirements there that we have to adhere to, and so our engineering our standards have to meet those levels. It also depends on what the intended usage of the bridge is, whether it's intended to just be a footbridge, whether it's intended to be passable by horses, for example. It has to meet different design standards. There's also requirements from county risk about certain elevations, maybe certain levels of handrails and things like that. So it's a pretty involved process. And there's a lot that goes into it. So all of that would be considered when looking at the design of any future bridges.
So the second thing that I had was the comment that Joe made about Coulter Creek. And if I remember correctly, that Frank was involved in that original assessment, and that probably was one of the most thorough assessments of a wetland area where they found 7 or 9 salmonoids that they didn't know were up there, that sort of thing, and how actually important that Coulter Creek wetland is and the buffers that were set for it. So just wanted to make that comment because that was about 2 or 3 years ago, but it's still got to be really, really good for it. That's it.
John, thank you very much. Dawn?
Thank you. I had two kind of comments related to things that have been discussed. And one is, I do like, I would like a discussion at some point about heritage parks. You do have a nice little definition, but it also came up recently in our park with something similar to what Joe was talking about, but it was in light of, we're discussing bylaws and what our steward group wants to stand for and work for and put our priorities towards. But we also have, well, one group, our air model air group, plus we also have a disc golf group that's very interested. And our discussion was, we're in cooperation with them. We have, and we want to make sure that we have our areas and understanding how we can incorporate them in a good way into our park. So I think it's a discussion we're having. My second comment is, as a new Parks Advisory Board member, during my first meeting, there was a comment by somebody, and I don't know, that the subcommittees had not met very often and they didn't know what they were doing, kind of. And then Lisa brought up a question tonight, and Carol's question about the community and people wanting to be involved. And I feel that's why I joined this, is I want to be involved. I want to understand more. And I would hope that we can find ways for maybe us to meet as subcommittees more often and ask some questions that you probably don't have time for right now, being so understaffed. That would just allow some kind of more feedback or play. Don't forget, we're volunteers and you should use us. Find a way to use us in a way that's productive.
Appreciate that. The intent of the subcommittees is to use the volunteerism that you're here for to help us, but at times of need, when we're ready. We don't, often have, policies or procedures or updated fee policy, fee structures, or, whatever it may be happening every single day. We're not in that phase. The majority of our day-to-day is, dealing with what is happening on a day-to-day basis, not these kind of long-term plans and making operational changes to the department. We are still working on that stuff, but we don't have, a tremendous amount of time to dedicate to that. So we work on it over time. And then when something's ready to move forward, then we have a process that we go through that involves or starts with the subcommittees, and it comes back to the Parks Advisory Board and then moves forward, has other staff involvement, other county departments before it goes to the commissioner. And so it's just, we don't always have stuff happening behind the scenes. I don't know if that helps or not.
I think you told us at one point, Alex, that we weren't allowed to meet together as subcommittees outside of this environment because of public disclosure.
No, slightly different. We put the subcommittees, we put together with the quantity of people to be underneath pulling a quorum together so that we can meet more easily and not be bound to the public meetings requirements. But as individuals, as long as you don't have a quorum together, you are welcome to meet outside of these meetings. But I don't know what you would be discussing. It wouldn't be at the direction of staff or working on, staff related projects, because we're not bringing anything to you. But you're welcome to get together and have a conversation, outside of here or a meeting with the subcommittee members or other members as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to just respond to a couple of comments. One is that I like the idea of having some conversations on maybe scheduled ahead, like, one of the things that happened at the last Fort Gamble stewards meeting is that we did have a conversation afterwards. I was managing in 9 at the formal meeting, but we just sat around and had a conversation and we talked about some of the issues, that some of the people here today have raised about, mountain bikes versus walkers and should you have separated trails. And some of us that were involved in very early planning, shared that we had those discussions early on and there was a lot of concern. We didn't want a lot of duplicative trails. We thought that people could share. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I was a little surprised when I read the definition of heritage parks, because I was involved way back when they first started calling parks heritage parks. And then initially that term was coined by a parks planner, Rick Fackler. And it was actually based on, believe it or not, Battle Point Park on Bainbridge, which has a lot of different uses all over the place. So, and then the name the assumptions have changed, but I thought that was interesting how the name, who came up with the name initially, the vision of some big parks for the county as the county grew. And, but it was different than the definition that I had read in the last pros plan. That's all I have.
Okay. One of the things that we're looking to do in this pros plan update is to do an update to the park classification system. That will also include helping to define heritage parks because it's unclear. There isn't a standard definition that I've been able to locate. What I read in the 2018 pros plan is not specific either. And I've gotten those questions from the commissioners, and it's just not really there. And we do have this kind of tug of war between different concepts, between different ideals as to what a heritage park is. From one side of the pendulum, which is off limits to all development. It is trails only and kind of minimal impacts and use and hyper focused on the natural environment. To other types of multi-use environments like what we created in the framework for Port Gamble. And so you've got this. And back and forth, and it's like there's no definition to say it's one or the other, and so it is confusing. I get that. I don't have an answer right now, other than we're looking to update the classification system in the pros plan that will help us out with this. And when we have some of that information at the ready, obviously it will come to you for review and input. As well as to the public and others. So.
Are there any situations where it's appropriate for our advisory board members to attend any of your staff meeting types of things? Is that a request that would be appropriate from us at all? I'm still exploring my role here, sorry.
Yeah, those are generally, I mean, not bound to be open to the public. You know, there may be opportunities and times where we're having a certain discussion on a certain topic or something where it's appropriate and helpful. We have had, had members of the Parks Advisory Board involved in, department happenings in the past. We've had members sit on hiring panels for various staff members, so there has been involvement in department decision-making outside of the advisory board, being a representative. That's happened.
Okay, so Alex. You thought you were getting away from you, didn't you? Yes, not happening, not happening, not on my watch. Anyway, about the idea of the subcommittees and everything, once we kind of have a framework in place that's called the pros plan and this, that, and the other, would you be open to the idea of then, once we have a game plan of bringing the subcommittees together, not to make any decisions, but basically a welcome aboard briefing with their respective staff personnel, so that then they can kind of figure out what they're supposed to be doing, and so it's not just a brand new learning process every time they hold a meeting.
Sure, we could look to do something like that. Sure. I don't know what again, we don't generally pull the subcommittees together unless we have something to work on. But if there is a desire, by the advisory board to do something looser and come together to, maybe discuss, the goals and objectives that come out of the pros plan and where they kind of fit within that. I think that that would be appropriate.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Now that I threw you under the bus like that and everything, I'll also throw myself under the bus, and I'm willing to work with you, so we can kind of, once we get something to work towards, we can kind of flesh that vision out. Is that okay?
I know, write a proposal.
If you see my writing, you don't want that. All righty. We have reached the bottom of the agenda. There's only one other thing. Item, we may not, which is called for adjournment. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Say aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. We will see you next month. Thank you.